Morning. Today's little mini lecture is going to be looking at the differences between a physical change and a chemical change. So first of all, let me just tell you the difference between the two, just the vocabulary words. Physical change is going to be a change that alters the appearance of the material, but it doesn't change the material. Whereas a chemical change is going to alter the appearance, but it changes the actual material. You have an entirely new substance after the change has gone through. So if you look at the notes on the screen, I have two columns. One's entitled physical changes and one's entitled chemical changes. So pretty easy. I'm just going to use note card to show you. Looking at physical changes would be something like if you change the shape of it. Like this is still a note card, it's still paper. If I tear it in half, it's still a note card, it's still paper. If I put some type of a dye or pigment, so I write on it. Right, so now it's still going to be paper, it just has something written on it. If I color it, again, it's still going to be paper. Some of the things that we often omit or we don't really think about on the physical changes are state changes. And when I say state changes, I'm talking about solids, liquids, and gases. So if I start with a piece of ice, so ice is water, chemical formula is H2O. It's solid form, it's frozen. If I take that piece of ice and I put it in a pot and I just let it sit there, then that piece of ice is going to slowly melt. But it's still water, H2O. The only difference is it's changed state. It went from a solid to a liquid. If I put that pot on a stove and I bring it to a boil, then again, though it's still H2O, but now it's changed from a liquid to gas and the steam has come off of it. So state changes, which is going to be anything from freezing to boiling to melting, all of those are going to be considered physical changes. The last two is malleability and conductivity. Malleability is the ability for a metal to be bent or shaped, and then conductivity is conduction of electricity. All right, let's move over to the chemical changes. Well, number one, a new substance has to be formed. So a good example of that would be the burning of something. So if I take a lighter and I take this same piece of paper and now I burn it, won't get too much smoke in here, but I burn it, what is left over is no longer paper. That is going to be considered carbon residue. That's ash. So that is no longer going to be considered paper. Got a brand new substance. That's a chemical change. I mix two chemicals together and I get bubbling, or I get heat being released or light being released. All of those are going to be key terms for a chemical change. And then the last one here is rust or tarnish. So if I have a piece of metal that's left outside all winter and it gets rained on back and forth and it starts to rust, then that is going to be a chemical change. So I hope you have learned the difference between a physical change and a chemical change and will be able to complete the worksheet with no problems. All right, thank you.